Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video of Fox Reacts. Today we're checking out a new one from the game Theorists about food, it's about Cooking Companions, the new DLC, the Chompet's Origins, and it's called Friend or Food. Let's hop in and see what MatPat was cooking up this time. I'm sorry, I had to, the pun was right though.
I'm back! I've been looking for you. It's been about 4 months since your last theory? Are you losing track of time again?
It's really only been 4 months.
Why would you ask me that? You know exactly what happened. You know exactly what happened.
Oh.
Let me remind you.
Yeah, we're back in Cooking Companions, alright.
Hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory, now with 50% less cannibalism but the same dead kid flavor you've come to love. And welcome back to Cooking Companions, everyone's favorite
Dead
visual
kid
novel about eating your
tasty.
camping buddies then turning them into kawaii foodstuffs. In case you missed our previous theories on the game, the original Cooking Companions told the story of an unnamed protagonist living out in the woods and the 4 hikers that unfortunately join you in search of shelter.
Also never
Shortly
see
into their
the
stay, the
protagonist,
food runs out, and you, as the chef, are forced to find some alternative sources of meat for everyone. One by one, each member of the group is consumed by their hunger, their guilty conscience, and eventually just consumed, mostly by you. Meat. Thanks to clues in the game, we were able to figure out that the player character is actually the Baba Yaga, an old hag from Slavic folklore that, would you know, eats people that happen to get lost in the woods near her cabin. But that solution only gave us half the story. You see, though we might be an old cannibalistic hag living out alone in the woods, we aren't truly alone. Throughout the tale, our character is visited by 5 adorable grocery store rejects, the Chompettes. You've got Cabbage, the leader of the group who loves to play games, Onion, the comedian who thinks they're way funnier than they actually are, the pun-filled Bread, the cute but threatening Raspberry, and Potato, just Potato, a character who immediately stands out from the group as the tuber who refuses.
Oh, now I understand what it is. It's one of those old paddleball games, but it's going so fast, I honestly couldn't tell what the hell it was. An onion can be funny sometimes. Not as funny as Bread, but still funny. Still no idea what the hell goes on with Raspberry. You all saw that eye twitch? What the hell's up with that?
To play along and just insists on getting his knife back. Clearly, one of these things is not like the others. While all the other Chompettes are playful and generally cheery, Potato is despondent, angry, threatening. And that's because he's especially important to our character's origin story. Exploring hidden notes found throughout the game, we were able to piece together that Potato, before he became a root vegetable, was actually a serial killer known as the Butcher of Zakopane, a man that we suspected was possessed by the Baba Yaga years before we were. The story we crafted went as follows. We were originally part of a group of 5 kids taken in by the Butcher, victims waiting for the slaughter. Except something unexpected happened. The Butcher was lonely. He wanted a protege. And when we arrived at the forest cabin, he singled us out to learn his ways. There was only one problem. We were still loyal to our friends. When it came time for our friends to be sacrificed down in the basement, we struck first, killing the Butcher and saving the group. Except it came with one problem. Something that we could have never predicted. In killing the Butcher, we ourselves got possessed by the Baba Yaga. Under her influence, we then turn on our friends, and thus the Chompettes were born. Our 4 friends and the one starchy killer who just wants his knife back.
And to explain real quick why these 5 became the Chompettes but not the other 3 from the main game, the theory is that they have to be killed by the person that is the host of the Baba Yaga. Or, yeah, they have to be killed by that person. Because the brown-haired girl, the guy with glasses, they died outside the cabin, and even though they were butchered inside the cabin. And the muscly guy, I forget his name, he may have died inside the cabin, but he wasn't killed inside the cabin, which is why he didn't turn. That's why the redhead eventually turns into Radish, and that was that.
And that was the story, or should I say, that was the story as best as we could piece together. But now, everything's different. Enter the game's new DLC, Chompette Origins, a prequel story to the events of the original game. You know what that means. It's suddenly my hour of reckoning. One of the few times on this channel that we either get to confirm or deny a past theory, which means that it's time to see just how wrong we were. So, will I be getting the sweet taste of victory, or just a big ol' slice of humble pie? It's time to explore that familiar literal cabin one final time to see what mysteries Dear Dream Studios has cooked up. The prequel story starts with 3 children standing in front of our familiar cabin in the woods. There's Selena, Oleg, and Bolek. If it wasn't clear from the first letters of their names or the color of their outfits, Dear Dream Studios was also kind enough to color their names to be the same as our Chompette pals.
Yep,
Selena is cabbage, Oleg is onion, and Bolek is bread. I don't know if you can tell it, but they really wanted to make sure we knew who was who. This time, we're not playing the role of the killer or Baba Yaga or anything like that, but rather we're the 4th child, Rhina, the child who would go on to become Raspberry. We're told that we're running away from someone, escaping into this empty cabin to hide. Eventually, the man that we're running from finds his way into the cabin. The 4 hide down in the basement, but it's too late. A knife-wielding killer stands before us, ready to make the final blow, but suddenly, the kids' faces turn to horror as slashing sounds are heard and the killer's eyes close. The last thing that we see are children running for their lives, except for Rhina, who's surprisingly calm about the entire situation. So, what's it all mean? How did the details of this DLC actually fit inside of our original set?
I had watched MatPat play through the DLC and all, so I know all these scenes and all, but I never really understood what was going on, so that's why I'm also checking out the theater as well. It helps explain it to me as well.
The theories. Well, in true theory fashion, we got a lot of stuff right, and also a couple things wrong. First and most importantly, this is definitely the Baba Yaga's cabin. As you search the premises, Bolek mentions finding a fence that's covered in bones, which is one common trait of the Baba Yaga's cabin in Slavic folklore. We also get an extra dream in New Game Plus that tells us the story of us dying in a river of fire controlled by a man with a handkerchief. This seemingly random story is another famous tale coming out of the Baba Yaga canon called The Death of Koshai the Deathless. In fact, I suspect that we might even be able to catch a glimpse of the Baba Yaga in the DLC, but it is buried real well. When the kids first descend into the basement of the cabin, we discover a literal murder chamber hidden inside the darkness. But you know what we do when there's a dark scene? You whip it out. And by I mean Photoshop. Cranking up the exposure gives you this.
Weird. We're back from the break. Sorry about that little glitch, Olio.
Not only a clear scene of the various cages and hostage pit in the middle of the room, like something ripped straight out of Silence of the Lambs, but in a when you see it, you'll poop bricks moment. If you look back here, yep, that is a human face staring right back at you, watching the kids and their killer from the shadows, waiting for the moment to strike them all down. That, I suspect, is the Baba Yaga, notably missing its left eye, which is a reference to yet another Baba Yaga story where their left eye is shot out during a battle. Could it potentially be the spirit of a past victim? Sure. Weird faces appear from the shadows when you least expect them all the time in this game. But the missing eye and the placement right next to where everyone's about to get slaughtered, my money is on the Yaga. That said, while we basically nailed it on that half of the story, we were a bit off when it came to Potato. Turns out, he doesn't live in this cabin like we first suspected. He's also not possessed by the Baba Yaga. He just wishes he were. After our 4 friends and the butcher wind up dead at the end of the DLC's first playthrough, we think to ourselves that, quote, keeping these intruders around might be entertaining for now. Potato is considered to be a part of that group. One in a group of intruders sticking their noses into a place where they're not welcome. The cabin. He was not, nor was he ever the Baba Yaga. All my hypothesizing about the Baba Yaga changing bodies? Yep, not a real thing. The Baba Yaga is just a separate, real character in this universe. So who then is Potato, and why is he trying to kill these kids all of a sudden? Well, my dear theorists, that's where the classic lore drops of cooking companions come in. Hidden throughout the game are secret notes that can only be accessed by interacting with an object over and over and over and over and over again until all the dialogue options are completely exhausted. By clicking on the cauldron in the kitchen, we find this note.
Hi, I saw the fence outside. Kids are needed? Please teach me the secret. I'll bring them here on Sunday. You won't have to do anything. Please teach me the secret.
As you can see, the spelling in these notes is, challenging, but that's actually a huge clue for us. After reading the note, Selena, the soon-to-be cabbage, comments the following.
Did a kid write this? Either it was a kid or an adult who didn't do very well in school.
That language is important because when playing through the main game, we're given hints that one of the Chompettes did indeed drop out of school in order to work at the butcher's. It's Potato. These letters are all coming from him. Potato apparently knew about the Baba Yaga that was living out in the cabin and wrote to them in the hopes that the killer would say yes to doing a collab. Now, this is an important factoid because last time we thought we were Potato's pupil, but it turns out to be the exact opposite. Potato actually wanted to be our student. If you pick Bolek's route out and check the walls enough times, you'll find another note that says,
"Hi, stop pretending like you aren't home. I was good. I did a good job. Please, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Teach me the secret."
Clearly, Potato went around town killing people in an effort to boost his resume, trying to get himself an acceptance letter from the Baba Yaga School for Serial Killers. But even though we were wrong about him being the Baba Yaga—
Wait, so could it instead be that Potato was the butcher of Zakopane? He was the one that was chasing after the kids? Yes, that would all make sense. He was the one that chased the kids to the cabin, was going to kill them for the Baba Yaga, and then the Baba Yaga killed him. Boom! Now that's a theory!
Yaga, we were right about him being the butcher of Zakopane. Selena the Cabbage actually recounts the story of them finding a body stuffed into a potato barrel, with the killer running away as soon as they spot him. It's the same killer that then attacks the cabin, the butcher.
Yes.
So now that we have ourselves access to all the information, here's how the story really wins. A group of 4 kids try to escape from a serial killer, the butcher of Zakopane, by hiding down in the basement of a seemingly abandoned cabin in the woods. When the butcher finds them and prepares his attack, the Baba Yaga returns home and slaughters them all for intruding, transforming the group into Potato and the rest of the Chompettes. Oh yeah, we also get to see Potato at the very end of the game. In one of the game's many secret Easter eggs, we get this jump scare.
Oh, well, look at that.
Our title screen is then sliced up into tiny little cubes. This, my friends, is the face of the butcher. We know this thanks to his height relative to the kids, as well as one additional key detail, the knife he's holding. The knife that, as Potato, he would be so salty not to have. Straightening all this out now allows us to try and actually solve the biggest mystery of the entire game, the disappearance of Raziel, aka Cornbread. This elusive 6th Chompette is basically like the Golden Freddy of the franchise. Everyone keeps talking about him, there are hints to him everywhere, and clearly he's important to the story, but the only time we ever catch a glimpse of him is if we manage to unlock one of the hardest secret endings in the game. Raziel was a bit of an enigma during our previous theories, mainly because we had so little information to work off of. We're told that he's Oleg the Onion's relative, despite the fact that Bread calls him Cousin Cornbread. We know that he's been in the cabin before because of his tiny boat.
To be honest, calling him cousin could just be kind of like a familiar thing. I mean, I have an aunt, but I'm not related to her by blood in any way, shape, or form. The only reason I call her aunt is because she and my mom are so close. If you're watching this and you find, hey, Aunt Candy. If you don't, well, I didn't say anything else.
Under the couch, and we know that eventually we eat him. The Baba Yaga consumes his flesh. Not really a whole lot to go off of, so last time I pitched my own idea that Raziel came later, after the original Chompettes had all been killed. However, the new DLC proves otherwise. See, Raziel's already missing at the start of the story.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
Yeah, basically that. In this prequel DLC, the kids decide to try solving the murders that are happening throughout Zakopane. In order to do that, Oleg needs to get some tips from his grandma. And the way he gets her to open up is by saying that he's going to use the information to help find the missing Raziel. And when they do eventually find their way to that forest—
Cut. Well, back. Continue.
They can find the same toy boat with Raziel's name carved into it hiding under the couch. He's been here. He's been gone for quite some time. So what happened to this kid? What brought him here in the first place? Well, when Potato corners the kids down in the basement, he says this before finishing them off.
Say hi to Raziel for me.
He knows who Raziel is, but why? Well, I suspect that Raziel's the kid that Potato refers to in his original letter to the Baba Yaga. I saw the fence outside. Kids are needed. I'll bring him here on Sunday. The him in this case is Raziel. Potato brought him here to the Baba Yaga in order to prove his worth and hopefully learn the Baba Yaga's secret. Which does leave us with one final question. What is this secret that's so worth killing for? It keeps getting brought up. Potato writes to the Baba Yaga about it not just once, but twice. He wants to know it so badly that he's willing to sacrifice kids to get some answers. And yet, the game still leaves it ambiguous. That said, I think that I figured out what the secret is. There's one thing that the Baba Yaga is well known for throughout Slavic folklore. Something that's often described as her big secret. That's the ability to become young again, living forever. And going back to the main game, we can actually confirm that this is the Baba Yaga's goal inside of Cooking Companions. By the end of your first playthrough, you're getting hit with a lot of information. The Chompettes are in a state of disarray, they're dropping vague hints as to their backstories, your cooking companion Karen is starting to get real hungry for your flesh, and you're constantly passing out, flashing through weird hallucinations. It is in the middle of this chaos that we encounter Potato hiding inside of a drawer, and he asks us the following.
You seem to survive almost anything. Do I have that right? Must be that addiction to the meat. or something else? Would you share that secret with me?
It's at this point that we can actually choose to tell him whatever it is that he wants to know so badly. If you do share the secret with him, he responds with,
I'm living longer than expected already, but this is good information to take with me.
So that basically confirms that the information he wants is related to extending your life in some way. But then, how do you do it? That brings us all the way back around to cannibalism and Raziel. Some folktales say that the Baba Yaga stays young by eating children, and while we search the cabin, we stumble across drawings of a small child being fed meat by a large black monster. We're told that these drawings are made by none other than Raziel. So this appears to be depicting the Baba Yaga preparing to consume our young little cornbread friend. But the Baba Yaga's eaten countless people before. It's why we keep seeing spirits of the dead all around the cabin. So what makes Raziel so different? Why did they move on to become cornbread rather than just stay in another angry spirit? Well, I think that's explained away by this drawing right here. A small boy surrounded by horrific faces.
Were you fattening him up, or were you scaring the hell out of him while you hesitated?
One does not simply eat kids. One does try to fatten them up before consumption. However, Raziel was different because the Baba Yaga started to connect with him. It started to care for the boy. We're told throughout the story that Raziel was a fountain of pure life and energy, a joy for everyone around him. I suspect, as Potato rightly calls out, that the Baba Yaga started to hesitate. It knew that it needed to consume Raziel to continue living, but it didn't want to sacrifice such a loving and sweet child. Eventually, the Baba Yaga does consume him, but the damage is done. The Baba Yaga continues killing and surviving, but does so begrudgingly. As Potato repeatedly calls out in the main game, we're slipping, we're getting sloppy, we don't care as much about what we're doing anymore. Because in the end, what good is eternal life if you have to be a lonely monster in order to get it? But hey, at this point I think it's pretty darn clear that since Cooking Companions first came out, I've been super invested in the franchise. But while I was waiting patiently for this DLC to drop, I had time to invest in something else, the stock market. Thanks in large part to today's sponsor.
I guess that's it. The rest of this is probably just an ad and for
public.com. When I was
and that's it. Okay then. So, that's what we're going to call off today's video. So, I want you all to remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Down in the description will be a link to the original video, so remember to support the original creators and all they do. And I'll see all of you folks next time. Have a good one.